On today's show, we're breaking down info from Doom director Hugo Martin. How will Doom the Dark Ages be the death of Eternal, going back to the past of 1993? Will the Doomslayer be in an eternal rage, or will the Dark Age put him in a dark cage? You're listening to BFGFM. I'm your host, Alston. Now, the first quote we hear, at the start of every development cycle, I play the original Doom again, and have the team play it too. I realized we didn't hit the mark. See, we're actually going to have a special caller in just a moment to get a question in on the show today. But yeah, that's the thing. It's good to go back to the originals. I agree. I grew up on them, man. I'm in my mid-30s. 90s Doom is a classic, no matter what anybody else says. It's good to go back and understand your roots. Where do you come from? Where do you want to go? Not to copy, but to influence and find out where to go from there. Because Eternal did a lot. I mean, if you just got into the series from 2016 and then in Eternal flying through the air on top of all the new combat push forward that 2016 brought, man, you were in for a lot. Now we actually have a special caller calling into the show today, Horde Mode Gaming. Thank you for calling in. What kind of question do you have for me today?
I believe that Doom Eternal pushed the modern formula about as far as it could go. Reintroducing the original gameplay loop is the perfect way to ensure the Dark Ages stands on its own, as it would have been hard for them to properly expand Eternal's combat without overwhelming players and overcrowding the experience. Don't you agree?
That's a really good one. Thank you so much for calling in. I would love to answer that one. So you do push things so far, and I've heard folks like Under the Mayo talk about this, where you run into the end. Like, where do we go from there? Do we do a MEATHOOK 2? Do we do a, what's next? Like, people are already going to know the MEATHOOK. They're already going to know that Doom Eternal combat loop, and so when you give that to them, they're going to get bored of it eventually, is what most people say. And then new players are going to come in at a strong disadvantage. So going back and not, I would say, reinventing the wheel of the past, not just changing it, because the wheel has still got to be round, right? We still got to drive this thing somehow, this combat puzzle that Hugo Martini would like. And I think that going back to the original and focusing on a new direction is good. Now, this new direction could be good, it could be bad, but it's going to be different. We take a look at 2016's multiplayer. It caught some flack for people call it like Halo Doom type of thing. I don't know if they actually called it that, but that's the vibe that the haters had. And then you have Battle Mode, which was a brand new forte. I mean, it was a brand new frontier is the right word for that. Going on, uneven, asymmetrical 2v1 Slayer Demons. It was really creative, but it just missed the mark for the vast majority of the players. I thought it was pretty cool. I played on the Bethesda Friday Night Fights, and that was a fun time, even though I got my anus handed to me. But it was a great time nonetheless. I just wonder what's going to go forward. I think this is going to be a single-player focus game. I'd love to see Deathmatch, but I know we have Quake Champions. But you got to focus on what you're best at. I'm a firm believer in multiplayer being a core of a game to help it live on. Of course, as a content creator, I would love to have multiplayer, play with people and all that. But I understand that you got to focus on what you got to focus on, your strengths, and focus those down. So why this epiphany? The projectiles, the nightmarish gauntlet of floating homing hazards. Hugo said that I noticed right away how slow these projectiles move. It just dawned on me that is the maze. The movement is more horizontal as you weave your way between the projectiles, and every projectile mattered in the original Doom. Yes, it did. Fast Monsters actually making that a whole lot crazier. So we go back, we look at the original Doom, and we went high up in the air with Doom Eternal. Now we're going to be like a bullet hell type of game where we're weaving in, bobbing, you've seen the movie, right? Dodge, dip, duck, dive, dodge, right? If you are from that era of the early 2000s. Dodgeball. You have to be able to focus on that. Now, if we don't have a double jump, if we don't have a dash, that's going to be different. And you know what? I'm just going to be honest with you here. Y'all might not disagree with this, you might disagree with this, but you got to hear it. When I first started Doom 2016, the game that pretty much was my channel after the whole classic challenge run stuff, it was like, man, there's so much to learn, all these runes and blah, blah, all these mechanics. Do I really want to learn a whole new game? Glad I did, by the way. Then after that, we go into Eternal. It's like, oh, this is so much. 5.5 hours into Cultist Base Pit to get there, and this is a lot to learn, but I'm glad I did. So if you go to Doom the Dark Ages, you're going to feel different, especially if you're coming off of the new Doom series. You didn't have that classic to grow up on, or a lot of folks go back and play the classic after they come from the 2016 Eternal style, which I highly recommend doing. I'm actually a GZ Doom pleb, so I apologize if anyone likes the more chocolate, but I've done chocolate speedruns as well for Hexen actually. So you got to go back, you got to see that difference, you got to see where we came from to understand the full vision of the Dark Ages. If you go into it like, oh, this is slow, no dash, no double jump, you are not getting the vision of what id Software and Hugo are wanting to do. They want the projectiles to now be that focus, not the imp launching the fireball off the column and knocking 75 health off of you in Doom 2016. That's the homing projectiles. The other ones did 45 in Nightmare, but that's the focus of it. Quote goes on to say, Doom Eternal invested heavily in verticality, making constant movement across multiple planes of wider combat arenas a central component of the core rhythm to encounters. So Hugo says that the ethos, they're going back to what underpinned the first instance, it became a core pillar of what the team wanted to achieve. We couldn't go any higher in the air than Doom Eternal. That was a great experience, but we want each game to stand on its own. That goes back to what our buddy Horde Mode Gaming says, like, where do you go? Do you push for Doom Eternal 2 and put more of a good thing? You know, they always say that the dosage of what you have is the poison. Too much water is poison. Too much water will kill you. Or anything, it's the dosage. I want more Doom Eternal. I would love to see a full campaign of master levels, but unfortunately due to COVID and all the whole restrictions, we did not get that. We're going to expand on that in a minute. What I think they're bringing into the Dark Ages that Eternal could not have to tie things up. But we want to look at the dosage. I'd love to see Doom Eternal 2, 3, 4, 5, and forever and ever, amen. But, you know, I understand there's got to be a difference. So you don't want to be too samey. Good example here. A lot of people crap on Call of Duty because it's like, oh, they get the same game every year. Well, what if we do that? What if we get the same Doom game every year? I would buy them and play them all. But that's beside the point what I'm trying to say here on the show today. And again, if you're just now joining us here, or if you've been here for a while, let's call this segment BFGFM. It's the video radio chat show of all things Doom. And by the way, a lot of people don't know this, but every new subscriber equals one dead demon in Doom the Dark Ages. So do your part. Subscribe if you're not already. I like that idea. Hugo goes on to say, if you were an F-22 fighter jet in Doom Eternal, this time around, we wanted you to feel like an Abrams tank. And it means that you are more powerful and grounded. Combat system for new players, those who only got into Doom with the reboot, I think Dark Ages, they're going to feel like this is a reimagined combat system. But for longtime fans of the series, people who played the original Doom, you'll see it's really a return to form. And that goes back into what Hugo said that way back years ago, when Eternal was in its prime, he was going on doing the interviews, all the streams, which were really awesome. He said that it was a monster truck slayer, and all of us were speculating, like, how can we have a monster truck slayer? We're hitting so hard. Are we getting rid of, like gory kills? What will be the focus? And that's what we're going to see come to fruition in the Dark Ages. We will see that vision of the monster truck. How is the slayer going to be a monster truck? This is how we'll find out. We've had all these years since 2016 of the modern slayer flying through the air, going all these awesome weapons and everything, and now we're coming up to a different point in time, a transition of the Slayer to a more grounded monster truck bulldozer instead of a flying around F-22. He's got the wings, he's flying around like Navi from Zelda or whatever. That's what we're coming up to see. So what's that mean in real terms? Martin says the spirit of the original game comes alive in a number of ways. Thank you. But most notable is the respect to how you move. You're heavier, you're more powerful, and you're grounded. We're making strafing to aim a thing again. You'll be weaving between projectiles just like you did in the original Doom to deliver that super shotgun blast to the chest. It almost creates this three-dimensional shoot-'em-up puzzle that you're weaving your way through. See, that's what I'm curious to see in this new modern Doom. How will they call back to the classics, keep it fresh and clean enough to be able to take away those elements that we know and love of flying through the air? That is the combat puzzle we have grown to enjoy these past several years. How can you take that away and replace it with something new and different that is more, I don't want to say linear, but more grounded? Now, what's interesting too, we'll talk about in a moment, I think I know how they're going to do this in a way, is that it's not just going to be Doom Eternal but flat. If you hear me only once say thing, if that makes sense, it's not going to be Doom Eternal but flat. They know that they can't just take away the verticality, give you Eternal's combat system, and then say, go have fun. You have to have a different thing to stand out, or else it's just going to be Doom Eternal half. You don't want that, do you? So we'll see how they actually come up and do that. We have more demons than ever before. There's a shot where the Slayer turns a corner, he's killing so many of them, using that spread shotgun and doing all the damage with all the gore bits coming off and the feedback that we can achieve now in games. It's just incredible. It's so exciting to be able to provide that for players. The tech is really allowing us to do some of the biggest spaces and biggest AI, and the weapons feel like the most powerful you've ever held in a Doom game. Yeah, we're probably not going to have the MEATHOOK again, and you know what? That will help Dark Ages set itself apart from Eternal. That's a key part in when you're developing and designing these games, to be different and stand out and give each experience its own feet to stand on. You don't want it to be sitting on your shoulders, oh, this is Doom Eternal, but this is Doom Eternal and. So as we see here, I've actually heard Hugo say that like he keeps asking the programmer team, is like, okay, is this too many demons? They're like, no, we can do more. And so yeah, Eternal was capped off to like, somebody help me out here. It was 24, 32 demons in one arena at one time spawned in. So yeah, what if we have more now? We're going to be mowing down armies of demons. We're going to be going in places we've never seen before, and we're going to be going into so many more things. Wider areas, maybe spaces that aren't so linear. We can pick the left path. We can pick the right path. We can have a foundry, an Arch of Facility destroyed, Arch of Facility, go back to the classics, weave in and out of these mazes. Not just held tight to one arena. Let that sink in for just a moment. Think about how that would feel to experience. You are a weapon of mass destruction in this game. We like to say it's this medieval war against the forces and everything's going off and going wrong. The good guys are losing and you are the nuclear option, and we're putting you in that driver's seat. The power fantasy, it's not gone. It's still here. It's going to be stronger than ever is what it's going to be. And the thing that we have to remember is that we can't just be the same Slayer every time. I want to know, with the fur coat Slayer that we have now, what is going to be different in the Dark Ages? How will it stand out from its predecessors? How will it be able to carry that torch and go on? I'm not done yet. We are going to go on a little rage here. Like Martin says, you'll be killing more demons than you ever have before. The number of AI on the screen, I don't even think there's a limit at this point. I keep waiting to hear no from the programmers, and they haven't said it. It feels like, tech-wise across the board, we've been empowered to make our best game. The last 2 rebooted Doom games have built to this. We certainly had limitations in the past, and they just don't feel like they're there right now. But with each game, we tried to build off the success of the last one and learn the right lessons. See, Doom Eternal had its haters. It had its lovers. And it's not a perfect game like the Marauder on the Staircase. Even Hugo would admit that there are some glitches in the game. But this is the thing. With every new Doom game, hear me here. You gotta hear me. If you're out in the kitchen, you're making something, if you're doing whatever else, put your ears on. Because when Doom 2016 came out, it's like, how can you top this reboot? Look what the Doom series, we're back, baby. And then Doom Eternal comes out where our minds are blown. It's like, where do you even go from here? That's the thing. Don't doubt id Software. They've been here since the early 90s. Trust the Doomers that make the game. They've not made their best Doom game yet, Hugo has said. There are ways and things and machinations inside their mind that we do not even have any idea about, and that's why they're being so successful to this day, because they're able to reinvent the Doom series and able to do things that we did not think possible. So yeah, people might like Doom at the Dark Ages better than Eternal, and you're going to be blown the freaking heck away at what they can do with it. That's what I'm talking about. We're gonna be seeing things we never thought could exist. I'm not just talking about the Titans and the mechs. I'm talking about things that, wow, where did this come from? I wish Eternal had that. Martin is confident that the weapons in the Dark Ages are the most powerful you've ever held in a Doom game, but it's worth digging a little deeper. So the most powerful, how do you top the BFG, which it should still be there? You have a shield saw, you have a chainsaw shield that has like 4 different things you can parry. You can do a bunch of different crap with it. That was not in Eternal. You'll have that shield in your hand at all times. You're basically dual wielding. I want players to feel like Aragorn or Leonidas at the hot gates of 300. Now, the shield saw factors into play. He says that there's a lot of stuff you can do with the shield. You can block attacks, you can parry projectiles, there are melee weapons you can combo attacks with, you can use it to solve problems. You basically exploit weaknesses with the shield in your left hand, and then you hurt things with the guns in your right. It's pretty simple. There's your combat puzzle. It's not up in the air, it's on the ground. The puzzle is still there. There will still be things to figure out. Doom is not a series you pick up and you master in 2 seconds. The skill, this is what I love about Doom. I've said this for years in my Eternal videos. It facilitates player progression. I have had countless people come in my comments section, say, Austin, I started on I'm Too Young to Die. Great. Go. You keep going. Months later, they'll come back and comment like, I just beat the game on Ultraviolence and Nightmare. I never thought I would get to this point. I've had people in their 50s and their 60s say, hey, this game is awesome. I'm learning and doing things I never thought I could do. And that makes it special, isn't it? I mean, we look at the ways that it's the skill floor is low. Anybody can come in, pick up Doom, and do pretty well with it mostly. The ceiling is high when you see these people like American Eagle Siler just going in and going off on the modded content and just completely obliterating things that even its software thought was not possible, with Hugo saying that we're redlining it now. Like how much more can Doom Eternal be pushed? And it's the next generation software, the Series X for Xbox, all the new systems that we got the ray tracing update with Eternal, and now we have so many more baseline things. This isn't coming after release, this is for the release. It's being designed for these systems in mind. Oh, and we didn't even get to the Mecha Dragon in Atlan Mech, the quote says, which will shred Titanic demons to a pulp. There is so much to do. You look at those Titans as Atlas. This brings, Hugo actually was an artist for Pacific Rim, the big movie. And we didn't get to see those mechs, aside from the Fortress, in Doom Eternal with the whole COVID restrictions and the like. But we will see the Slayer in ways that we've never seen the Slayer before. We will fight battles that we've never fought before, and it will be up in the air, just in a little bit of a different way, right? I think that, like, I've seen comments talking about, well, maybe it'll be like the Revenant section, or maybe we'll do something like that. I don't want it to be overused, or I'm worried about the shield saw being too, focusing too much on that. It's going to be a chore. That's the thing. We're keeping the familiar mechanics of like the green lights to do your action. Some people may say it's like a quick time event, but I think there's going to be more to it. I trust its judgment. If it was not fun, they would not make it, right? I don't picture id Software being like this company that just goes in and, I mean, work is work, yes, but I've talked with enough of the devs over the years and just like on Twitter or wherever, and they really feel like that they love what they do. You know what I mean, man? You know what I mean? It's like you have to look at the big picture here. There are a lot of things. They're testing new ground. Some of it might not hit. Some of it might not be as fun as we'd like. Some of it might be more awesome than our imaginations would ever imagine. I am getting ready for the Dark Ages, and you should be too. And you should come to our Discord and talk about it and go see the next video on the screen here. Let's call this segment BFGFM. I am Austin. I'm your host. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.